In this video, I'll teach you how I made this stylish top with a belt sleeve. I was able to achieve this with 1.5 yards of fabric. If you're on a bigger side, you might have to make use of 2 yards. I'll be starting with the drafting part. Let's get started. So the first, I have my paper here already. I've marked my starting line. I have my bust point line right here, the under bust line, the waist line, and the hip line, which is also the hem line. So the bust point is 9.5 inches, the under bust is 13.5, the waistline is 16.5, while the hem line is 24.5. This is for what I'm working with. So the neckline is 3 inches, while the shoulder line is 7.5. The shoulder slope, I came down by 1 inch, and I'm going to mark the shoulder slope as you can see me doing. After getting that, I'm going to get my armhole length of 7 inches. I'll mark it like so. I'll get it a straight line like this, and I'm going to connect it just like this as you can see me doing. I'll mark it out on this place. I'll get the straight line so that I can I'll mark it out like this. So after doing that, the next thing I'm going to do is to get the midpoint of this line here. I'm going to mark it like so. I'll come out by ½ inch on this part here. Then I'm going to get the straight line and connect it from the shoulder slope like this. And I'm going to get the bust measurement. So I'm working with 34 inches divided by 4, and I have 8.5 inches. I'm going to mark my 8.5 inches like so, like this, and I'm going to connect my armhole just as you can see me doing. After that, I'm going to get the nipple to nipple point, which is 7 inches, and I mark 3.5 inches all the way to the hem line from the bust point. I'm going to connect it just like so as you can see me doing, like this. So after doing that, now the next thing I'm going to do is to come to this part here. I'm going to extend this part here with 1 inch. I'm going to extend this part here with 1 inch, and I'm going to mark it just like this. I hope you can see it's just an extension. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to come down here by ½ inch. Then I'm going to come to the waistline here. So here I'm making use of 1.5 inch. If you are from bust 40 upward, you can make use of 2 inches. If you are very bustier, you can make use of 2.5. So I'll mark 1.5 inch from the under bust line to the hem line, and I'm going to mark it just like so. So this is another way to mark your princess. That's another pattern, so you can just make use of this. There are different ways to get a princess dart. So I'm just going to mark it like so, and the next thing I'm going to do is to measure what I have on this armhole here. I have 8 inches, and I'm going to come to 4 inches, and I'll mark 4 here. Then I'm going to use the curved ruler to connect these lines together like so, the curvy part like this. So the next thing I'm going to do is to mark 1.5 inches like so, and I'll come up from the bust point by ½ inch, and I'm going to connect with this curved parts. I hope you understand. So I'm just going to connect it just like so as you can see me doing. So after that, I'm going to blend this part here like so, and the next thing I'm going to do now is to extend this line by 1 inch. Then after that, what I'm going to do is to mark this line here just to get a straight line. I'm going to mark like a dot on that part like this. Then I'm just going to come into the dart here and see what I have then, and I'm going to mark it right here. So after doing that, now I'm going to mark it right here just like this, ½ inch. So I'm going to connect the armhole like this. So after doing that, now the next thing I'm going to do is to mark my bust. So I'm working with 26 for the under bust. 26 divided by 4, I have 6.5 inch. That's 6.5. So I'll mark the 6.5 like so, and I'll mark my 1.5 inches dart allowance. So the waistline, I have 27 divided by 4, and I have 6.75. 6.75. I'll mark it like so, and I'll add the 1.5 inches. So I'll come to the hip line, and the hip line I'm working with is 37 divided by 4, which gives me 9.25. So I'll mark it here, my 1.5 inch here, and I'm going to add 1 inch extension to the hip line. So I'm just going to connect it just as you can see me doing right now. Please, if you have any question to ask me, you can go ahead and ask me. You get to this point, so you can ask me. I'll be willing to answer you in the comment section. Please kindly like, give my video a thumbs up. It means a whole lot to me, so you can encourage me to make more videos. Please kindly like and subscribe. Thank you. So after connecting those lines, I'll come up here by 2 inches. I'll come up here by 2. You can come by 3, it depends on what you prefer. So I'll come up by 2 inches and I'm going to mark it into this line like so. So after doing that, now the next thing I'm going to do is to connect this shoulders that I came out, the shoulder extension, to connect it to the armhole here. I hope you understand. So I'm going to connect it here, just as you can see me doing. Please ensure that you take your time and see what I am doing, like this. So after doing that, now the next thing I'm going to do is to mark my neck line. So I'll come down here by 7 inches. You can mark whatever you prefer. So I'll come inward by 4 inches. Then I'm going to mark it just like so. And then I'll make a curve. You can see, I'll show you the picture now. So you can see the curve right here on the neckline. So if you want your neckline like this, just mark this line here and leave it like that. But I'll be making a twist on my own. Then I'm just going to come up here by 3 inches. After the 3 inches, I'll come in by ½ inch to avoid a sharp edge around here. Then I'm going to connect this line to this line like so. I hope you understand. So I'm just going to connect it like this, place it properly, the ruler properly, and then connect like so. So after doing that, now I'm going to mark this. I'm going to mark it out so I can know where I'm cutting out. Then I'm going to mark my bust darts. So the difference is at 1½ inch, the difference between the front and the back half length. So I'll mark ½ inch here because I didn't want my bust dart to get to the bust point. So I'm going to mark it like this, and I'm going to extend this line just like this. Then I'm also going to mark it out. So after doing that, now I'm going to start cutting out. So just watch the way I'm cutting out for the sake of the beginners that are watching. So I'm just going to cut it out just like this. You can see the way I cut this part out. Please take your time, even though I made a mistake trying to what I was trying to cut here, but I'm going to correct my mistake. So the mistake I made is cutting this part. I didn't cut out the bust dart. So I'll come back now and I'm going to replace it just like this, and I'll extend it here. Then I'll cut out the bust darts. I hope you understand. So I'll cut out the bust darts now and I'll tape it down. So I didn't cut it past this line, so you can see. Then I'm just going to put my sellotape on it now. Then after that, I am done. So I'm going to just extend the lines here to avoid shortage around that place. So if you want to mark this line up to the waistline, you can do the same, but I marked it up onto the under bust line. So I'm just going to trace it out like this, and I'm going to cut it out, and we have our shortage replaced back. So after that, I'm going to come back to the neckline and I'm going to cut it out just like so. I hope you understand. I'm going to calmly cut it down like this. So I actually like this neckline. I've been willing to cut it for a while now, so that's why I just cut it out. So this is what we have after cutting out. This is our front pattern, and now we move to the back. So I have my zipper allowance of 1 inch marked already, and I have my chest line of 8 inches. Then I have my waistline of 15 inches because I have minus 1.5 from the front, and then I have the front here, which is I've marked what I have from the waistline to the hemline of it's 8 inches. So I'll mark the 8 inches on the waistline to the hemline of the back as well. I hope you understand, so we can have the same length. So after that, I mark the shoulder slope of 1 inch, the shoulder 7.5, the neck width 3 inches, and the neck depth of 1 inch. I hope you understand. So I'm going to connect the lines just like this. So I'm going to connect it like this. Then I'm going to get the midpoint and I'm going to mark it here. Then after that, I'll get the bust point of 8.5. and I'm going to connect it just like this without having any alteration around here. So after doing that, now the next thing I'm going to do is to get my nipple to nipple point of 3.5, the same way as I had it at the front. I'm going to mark it all the way down to the hemline right here, and then I'm going to connect it just like so. So after doing that, now the next thing I'm going to do is to come down by 1 inch here from the chest line. Then after that, I'll mark ½ inch on both sides on here. Then I'll come down by 6 inches to this point, and I'm going to connect those lines as you can see me doing right here. I hope you understand. Please, if I'm too fast, please kindly rewind or pause the video so you can understand. I don't want this video to get too long, that's why. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to come here by 3 inches here, and I'll be making use of a princess dart at the back. So I'll be using my free hand to trace the curve. I don't want it to be curvy around here, to have any sharp curve around here, so I'm trying to blend it properly. You can make use of your ruler, but just don't make it curvy. Just don't make it have like a cup or a sharp edge. So I'll extend here by 1 inch the same way I did to the front. I hope you understand. Then I'm going to just mark it. I'm going to connect it into the armhole just like this. So the next thing I'm going to do is to mark my waistline of 6.75, add my 1 inch waist dart. Then I'll come inward here by ½ inch for the zipper budge, and I'm going to just connect it to the chest line like so, and I'm going to connect it also into the hip line like so, into the dart where the dart ends. So I'm going to add this ½ inch here now into this waist measurement now, so I will not have any shortage. So the hip line, I'll mark my 9.25 and add my 1 inch extension the same way I did for the front. I hope you understand. So I'm just going to connect the lines just as you can see me doing right here. Please, I hope you understand. So if you have any question, you can ask me. So I'm going to do that. So I think I'm going to come up here with 2 inches the same way I did for the front and mark my curve. I'll mark my curve. I hope you get it. So after that, now the next thing I'm going to do is to cut it out just like this. So I'm going to cut it out now. Kindly watch the way I'm cutting it out so you will not have any problem while you are cutting it on the outfit, or cut the part you're not supposed to cut. I hope you understand. So I'm just the neck depth is 1 inch and I've cut it out now. So I'm just going to cut out this part as well. You can see the way I cut it out. So please kindly give my video a thumbs up and encourage me to make more videos. It's really not easy putting out all these videos out there. So this is the back pattern that we have, and you can see the waist and the hemline are matching perfectly. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to mark my 1 inch zipper allowance properly here just like this, and I'm going to mark it up to the chest line as well, just like so. So after doing that, now I'm going to be making this. You can see this design that we have at the back. I'll mark 3 inches down from the waistline. I'll connect it into the zipper allowance just as you can see. Then I'll mark 3 inches here from this zipper allowance here. I'll cut it. I'll mark it like so. Then I'm going to connect from this point here to these 3 inches here. Please kindly take your time and see what I'm doing. I'm using a slightly curvy part to cut it out. So I hope you understand. So I'm just going to cut this out like so to create that design that is on the back of the of the style. And this is what I have after I was done. You can see the design right here. I hope you can see. So the next thing I'm going to do is to cut it out on the fabric, and you can see I've cut out my half-inch allowance all the way, and the hem. So I have 1.5 inch on the side, 1.5 inch. So I have, this is the middle back, and I have it here. You can see how I cut the this side here. Just add your half-inch all the way round, and add whatever you want to add at the hem allowance. This is the middle part. You can see this part here is unfold. It's unfold, and I have half-inch all around. You can see the way I cut out this part. Just take your time and add your half-inch properly, and I add my half-inch all around. So this is the side front, and I have half-inch all around except for the side, which I have 1.5 inches. So this is the sleeve for the belt. I have the length of 30 inches, and I have half-inch to turn it up and down, makes it 31. So I have 2.5 inches here. By the time I stitch with half-inch, I will have 2 inches left for the sleeve for the belt. So here I'll come up by 3 inches here, just to give my belt a shape at this tip. Then I'm going to take my ruler, and I'm going to connect from this line to this point. I'm going to connect like this, and I'm going to have this shape for our normal belt. So if you are not okay with this, you can mark 1 inch up. You can see the shape. You can mark 1 inch up like this to just make it sharper, but I'm okay with this, so I'm just going to make do with this one that I have here. So I'm going to be cutting out 4 pieces of this. You can see this is on fold, so you'll be cutting out 4 pieces like this. So I'm just going to stitch. I'm not going to stitch this part here. I'm not going to stitch this part. I'm going to turn it out for you to see now. I'm going to stitch here. Let me turn it for you to see. So I'm going to start stitching from here, half-inch all around here, and I'll stop here. I will not stitch this opening part because I'm going to be putting it inside the sleeve. I'll be turning it inside the sleeve. So I have 2 parts here for one sleeve, and I have 2 here as well for another sleeve. So I hope you understand. So here is where we are going to be stopping on this part. You can see how it came out. So in the next part, I'm going to be to drop the sewing tutorial. Thank you for watching, and I appreciate you guys. You can see how it came out after I was done. Here is the back, and this is how it looks. It was looking, trust me, it was looking very good on the person that wore it. Thank you for watching. Bye.